Council's legislative session for Tuesday, January 15th. Before I call the meeting to order, I'd like to introduce Council Member Joyce Bowlesby, who was appointed earlier today and sworn in and is now serving as the council member from District 2. So Joyce comes highly recommended, and I have firm belief that she will be a great council person to serve the citizens of Cecil County. Also, before we start, I'd like everyone to silence their cell phones and any PDFs or any other electronic devices that you have. So I'm going to call to order the meeting, and I'd like everyone to rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Council members, before us we have minutes of the December 18th County Council Legislative Meeting. And is there a motion to approve these meeting minutes?
I move they be approved as presented.
Is there a second? I will second the motion to approve the meeting minutes. Is there any discussion?
Councilman Hodge, President Hodge, sorry. I did mention this morning that I was going to go back and listen to the audio of the recording, and while he did at some point say that there wouldn't be a quorum if 2 members left the meeting, there were a number of other things that were said as well. And I would just propose that statement just be left off, unless you're going to include the other significant parts that were also said. So I would just propose on page 4, the sentence, Council Wilson advised the council that if 2 council members leave the meeting, there is no quorum to conduct business.
You want to delete that?
Yes, I did.
Okay, would you make that in the form of a motion, please?
I would like to motion. Well, there's a, I request that the motion be amended to include that the sentence, Council Wilson advised the council that if 2 council members leave the meeting, there is no quorum to conduct business, as well as there was a discussion about what is the proper record for the minutes, the approved written minutes or the audio. And a way that we can cover our bases is a statement on each of our minutes stating qualification, hyphen, these minutes are subject to verification of the audio proceedings of this meeting. So those are my 2 recommended changes.
Is there a second to the motion to amend minutes?
Yeah, I'll second that.
I have to say that on the one motion to make the clarifying statement, we agreed to have council discuss this and evaluate it, research it, and get back to us. So I'm not in favor of making the changes to the meeting minutes to include the recording reference until we get legal advice on that. As to the removal of the other sentence, I'm okay with it. Is there any other discussion from any other member?
Concerning the statement by Mr. Wilson that the council of 2 council members left, there would be no quorum. I distinctly remember him saying, and if striking from the record, seemed inappropriate.
My point, Council McCarthy, is that there were a number of significant things that were said besides that. And then you either include all of it or you include none of it.
Would you specify what the things were, please?
The first part was that he believed, he said that he's not qualified, some sort of statement to that when I challenged him. And then the
was a motion to adjourn.
Uh,
I made the motion to adjourn
I
myself.
understand, not a motion to adjourn, but there wasn't enough votes to adjourn.
All right, is there any other discussion from another member? Okay, there's been a motion and a second to amend the motion to approve. All in favor of the motion to amend, please say aye.
Aye. With one of the statements or both?
Vote.
Okay, aye.
All those in disapproval of the amendment, say aye.
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 I'm abstaining because I was not sitting.
Okay, the motion fails to pass for a majority, so we're back to the motion to approve the meeting minutes.
But just the one change, with reviewing the sentence?
If you're amending your motion to make the one change,
Yes.
okay, there's a motion to delete the one paragraph from the meeting minutes. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Is there any discussion on the one? Would you repeat the sentence, please, that you would like to delete?
Council Wilson advised the council that if two council members leave the meeting, there is no quorum to conduct business.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to delete the one sentence that Councilwoman Broomall has read to you. All those in favor of deleting that one sentence, say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries to amend the meeting minutes by deleting the one sentence. So we're back to the original motion to approve the meeting minutes with the amendment that was approved. All those in favor of approving the meeting minutes with the amendment, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed?
Aye.
Okay, the motion to approve the meeting minutes has passed by a vote of 3-1 with one abstention. The second item on our agenda tonight is a presentation from Nick Rizzuti, from the Director of Social Services, and he'd like to talk to the council about the Cecil County Foster Care Program.
Thank you, Mr. President. As you know, one of the most important functions of the Department of Social Service is the protection of children who are abused and neglected. And the only way we can really do that is through dedicated volunteers called foster parents or resource parents. To explain the significance of this calendar which we distributed and of the program, I'd like to introduce to the council Ms. Tina Linkus, who's the adoption supervisor for the Department of Social Service. And she can explain exactly what we're trying to do with this calendar and recruitment of foster parents.
Welcome.
Good evening, President Hodge and council members. My name is Tina Linkus, and I need to hold this a little bit more. I came to share with the council and people in the community a project that we are doing to recruit foster and adoptive parents in Cecil County. As Mr. Rizzuti said, we have a huge need to recruit additional foster care and adoptive parents in Cecil County. We currently only have about 62 families, and we have about 63 foster children who are not able to be placed in county for various reasons. And therefore, many children have to be placed out of county, and that costs additional dollars in education costs, transportation costs, as well as private foster care agency expenses as well. So we do a project involving calendars and billboards. I don't know if any of you have seen the billboards along Route 40, but we have had foster children between the ages of 5 and 21 to draw pictures or designs talking about what it means to them to belong in a family permanently. And we really wanted to give our foster children a voice in recruitment. And we had 20 children this year. This is the third year that we've been doing this project. 20 children submitted photo pictures that they drew, and we designed a calendar, which most of you have. And we designed a calendar, and we had 2,000 of them printed, and we are distributing them throughout the county. as a means to recruit additional foster care and adoptive parents. We also used 4 of the best designs to design a billboard, and you'll be seeing some of the pictures in this calendar on display throughout the year 2013. This project helps to bring in more foster care families. I just wanted to give you a couple of numbers for our agency. Currently, we have 145 children in foster care in Cecil County, and like I said, a lot of them are either with relatives or placed out of county. And on average, we have 10 children adopted each year in Cecil County, and statewide last year, 476 children were adopted. And oftentimes families close when they adopt, so therefore there's the need to continue licensing more families. We average about 60 to 65 families per year. So I just wanted to share with you our project, and just wanted you to know that we're involving our children in our recruitment efforts. And there's contact information if anybody is interested in becoming a foster parent, or if any organization or department would like a stack of calendars. There's a contact information in here, and we can get those calendars to any place of business as a way of the community helping us to get the word out. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Next on our agenda is a presentation from Bill Kilby from the Cecil Land Trust.
President Hodge and fellow council members, we're back after, I guess last year when we made a presentation concerning the working and partnering with the county on 2 easements. And so tonight we have wanted to let you know that the check, a reimbursement check to the county is in the mail. Does that sound right? Actually, they electronically mail things now, so mail money. So the county will be receiving the check for $244,000 by I suppose Monday. And we wanted to let you know that it was there. But we also have some additional comments from Jeremy Rothwell, who has been working with the Land Trust over the past few months. And I did want to introduce Charles Herzog, Joe Carapet, Edwin Merriman, who are members of the board. And we really appreciate what you've done for us in the past. Thank you.
We certainly recognize the significant budget difficulties you're going to be going through as the budget in the next few months, and that money and funds for land preservation are obviously going to be hard to come by. But we would like to partner with the council to help stretch those dollars that we already have coming in from the recordation tax to make sure that they're being used and stretched to the fullest extent so that we can preserve and protect the maximum amount of property that we can. You know, as you may know, I'm sure, there's currently a proposal in the Planning Commission for the creation of agricultural preservation districts and for a tax credit program for landowners participating in that. We have some comments on that in terms of how the program can better serve its intended purpose, and we have some recommendations for you. We'll be contacting your office to hopefully sit down and speak with you in the next couple of weeks. We would just like to reiterate, you know, the importance of protecting large, you know, contiguous blocks of protected property. The county allows for residential subdivisions to be put in not only adjacent to but in between protected properties. You're defeating the purpose and you're wasting the taxpayer dollars that have gone into protecting those properties. You know, this is not just about our scenic open space that goes towards our tourism economy. This is about our long-term, you know, the viability of our agricultural economy. You know, the county has a very good opportunity in the coming years to attract a lot of first-rate agricultural businesses to the community. You've seen that with the mushroom facilities out in Warwick. But unless the county can prove to potential agribusinesses that there's not going to be a residential subdivision going up right next to them in 5 or 10 or 20 years down the road, why can you expect these agribusinesses to come in and invest in our community? And we just want to reiterate that this is about reinvesting in our tax base and, our long-term economy here in the community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Is there anyone else that want to bring any checks to the county? Okay, if not, we'll move on to council comments. Councilman Dunn, would you like to make any statements?
Sure, just to welcome everyone tonight. Thank you for coming. I believe this is our first evening meeting in 2013, so I just want to wish everyone a happy new year. Thank you.
Councilperson Bowlesby, would you have any thoughts or comments tonight?
I'd just like to say that I'm very honored to be sitting up here tonight representing District 2, and my door's always open to any of the citizens in Cecil County.
Thank you. Councilman McCarthy, do you have any comments?
Thank you very much for coming. We have a full complement, and we're basically looking very forward to doing some business for the county. Thank you.
Councilperson Bruno?
Thank you for attending, and just want to say how proud I am of the Cecil Land Trust, volunteer organization. They're helping to meet our goals, the comprehensive plan, the 42-member committee, that said it was a priority for preservation.
Thank you. And I appreciate the fact that we have a crowded room, and I appreciate you all coming out tonight. I know that the Cecil County Council has floundered a little bit lately, but I believe strongly that we will be getting our legs underneath of us, and we'll move forward. And a little slow start, but give us a little time to get organized, and we will do more work for you as we proceed forward. So thank you for coming, and your thoughts and comments are appreciated, and therefore we'll move on to the next item, which is public comment. So we picked up the, Vicki, do you want to read off the names, please?
First up is Bill Harris.
Evening, Mr. President, Council. I rarely come and speak before you, and usually when I do, I always ask something. I don't demand something. Tonight, I want to use myself as an illustration. There was a time in my young life when I was a better than average ball player. I was usually the fastest on my team. I had the highest batting average, and I had an arm that was comparable to anybody in the county. And through my young years, I had that me, mine, and mine attitude. Look at me. But as I grew older and I took the steps in moving up to AA ball, I realized that all my gifts and talents were of no use on a team of 9. I realized I needed a third baseman, the third baseman needed me. The pitcher needed a catcher, and so forth and so on. Now, you've all heard the Little League expression of there's no I in team. I've been coming to the meetings very often, and one favor I'd like to ask of you is stop using the I. I've been upstairs. I know your offices aren't that far from each other, and when there's issues to discuss, even though you're not going to agree with each other on all the issues, agree to disagree. Come down, vote the way you think you should vote. Sometimes you'll win, sometimes you'll lose. But we go on to the next item on the agenda. Communicate. In corporate America where I worked, communication was very valuable. Made professionals out of people. Tonight, we're making history with you here tonight. And I'd like to remind you that the charter government is in place. The executive has taken over. The council has been seated. And I'd like for you as a council to really look at yourselves and do something for me. See, we have a state and a nation that's in great turmoil right now. Sooner or later, those heavy tasks and these things we've been hearing about in the news are going to hit Cecil County. Unless we have 5 people making a wall to stand, that we can stand behind as constituents, I feel for our county. We need you. We need you as a unit. And there was sometimes the word special interest comes up in our meetings here. Well, if that's true, then, and if I was at that meeting and you said special interest, you're absolutely correct. I have special interest. I have 3. One is 12 years old. Her name is Cassie Bay Harris. Another is 10 years old. His name is Jake Chandler Harris. And a third is Christopher Joel Harris. Those are my special interests. Someday they'll probably want to settle down in Cecil County. The way of life that they will be able to maintain or obtain from you and what you do is based on the foundation that you're going to lay from this night forward. So I beseech you, form yourselves as a unit, work as a unit, work things out before the meetings come about, vote your choice. Like I said, sometimes you win, sometimes you lose, but at least the process will go on. Now go make history.
Thank you, Mr. Harris. I failed to mention that during public comment, it's citizens' opportunity to speak to the commissioners. We will not be responding to your comments, but we do want to hear what you have to say, and we'd like you to keep it to 5-minute maximum, please.
So Commissioner, Councilman Hodge, there was a point to where the public demanded that we respond or have the opportunity to respond, and so I made the motion to change that policy, and it was according to how each commissioner at that time wanted to proceed. Are you saying now that we do not have the opportunity to respond?
In the future meetings, I'm going to change the council comments around to the public comment so that we will have that opportunity. Vicki, the next speaker? Not tonight.
Not at.
No, not tonight. Next.
Next is Joe Carabetta.
Good evening, and Happy New Year to everyone, those who are in a new year. Congratulations, Robert, for being president. Unfortunately, the process that we got to seat our new councilman, and congratulations for Joyce for sitting on the board, was not the intended process of the charter. It was not intended to manipulate the charter to have the executive board pick the legislative branch. It would be like Obama appointing members of Congress. It wasn't right. And that decision was prompted by a personal decision to switch parties, which is fine. You can switch parties. But now I read last week where the person that made that decision wants us to pay for their decision. The taxpayers to pay for the decision for legal counsel to pay for a decision that she made personally. The council should deny any charges, legal charges, and this should be handled personally. Should not fall on the taxpayers to pay the legal fees for this decision. We were promised repeatedly when charter was sold to the voters in this county, charter was going to be cheaper. Charter was going to be cheaper. I sat in the presentations. Now we're going to have one lawyer after another lawyer adding on top of our bills, and we're hiring more positions and more positions. The government's getting bigger. This is not what you ran on as Republicans. It's smaller government, less taxes, and I see more taxes and bigger government. So I challenge you to deny any legal fees that come in from someone that made a personal decision to switch parties for manipulative reasons and not allow any legal fees in this manner whatsoever. But that's, it comes down to that we can't bear any more taxes in this county. Everything has to do with the amount of regulations. I have a friend who's building a house in the county. And the stories that he has told me, with all the things that he has gone through to try to get this house done, is unbelievable. It's amazing that any single person wants to build a house in this county with the amount of regulation, red tape. You're just driving people out of the county. We need to cut out some of that stuff and make it simpler for the average person, the average business to come.
You wonder why there's, you know, the three most famous companies in America today? Available for lease and for rent, because I see the signs everywhere. Because who wants to come to Maryland with all the taxes and regulations? I challenge you again to eliminate as many as you can. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Carabetta. Next speaker.
Diane Carabetta.
Good evening, Council, and Happy New Year. Congratulations, Robert, as the newest alpaca farmer in Cecil County, and President of the Board, and Alan as Vice President, and Joyce. Today's Martin Luther King's birthday, and he had a dream, and you had a dream, and your dream was charter. So welcome to the Board, Council. Though it's no surprise to me on whom Terry chose as her successor, congratulations just the same. As charter was and continues to be your baby, I am excitedly looking forward to your innovative thoughts and processes as you work legislatively shepherding charter into Cecil County. I look forward to seeing the purported enhancements in efficiencies and cost savings that were the mantra you used to bring charter to the Cecil County citizens and to get their vote for your initiative. I believe the efficiencies and the cost savings you will help generate will enable Cecil County to easily accommodate any state and federal mandates sent our way, including teacher pensions and other directives. On another subject, Terry Moore was elected under the Republican banner as Cecil County Executive. She then made a personal choice to change parties in order to thwart the intended democratic process established by the charter. By her actions, she has shown a desire to disassociate from the Republican Party. Repeatedly, she has demonstrated a disinterested in collaborating with other government officials. Should there be any court cases, well, I wrote this before I realized that Delegate Schmiegel had filed a restraining order against Executive Moore, but I would hope that the council representing the taxpayers of Cecil County would deny paying attorney bills on her behalf. She made the choice and the individual decision out of her own self-interest and not acting in the best interest of the elected officials. So thank you for please denying any attorney fees that she asked for in relation to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Carabetta. Next speaker.
Ron Lobos.
Ron Lobos, Elton, Maryland. First, I'd like to congratulate Joyce Bowlesby as a new appointment as councilperson. I think you're going to do an excellent job. Terry was voted in as county executive under the banner of the people, regardless of what anybody else said here today. And the decisions that she made here are on behalf of the people and not on behalf of the party. So I welcome you here today, and you have my full support and the support of many people here tonight. Would also like to thank or congratulate Robert Hodge as our new council president and Vice President Alan McCarthy. I think the three of you, along with the other two, will do a fine job of governing this county over the next couple of years. What I would like to do is I want to ask everybody here to try to get along. I think there's just all this infighting that's going on. And I would like you to make a special effort to try to stop the innuendos. I've heard from one of the council members up here refer to County Executive Terry Moore as Queen Terry. I want you to stop that now. Do you understand that? That's unprofessional, it's very immature, and it's not becoming of you. You're above that. You've been elected by the people. Stop the name calling. Terry would never call any of you a queen, and you know how you would feel if you were called a queen. The same way she feels right now. It's not a good feeling. So stop it. Number two, if any accusations are made in here by the council people in public, back up your accusations. Don't make empty accusations. I don't want to hear people have told me or one of the security people out there has come to me. But if you're going to make a public accusation, make sure, if the question is asked who it is that told you this, if it's a public accusation, then you make a public announcement as to who it was that told you that. If it's a private accusation, that's different. Then you can tell them in private who you heard it from. But when you start pointing the finger at people and saying people told me, don't be so private about that. You're hurting people by doing that, and that's not what this council is supposed to be about. I want to see everybody here work together. I think we're finally, after 2 years, on the right track to making some good, viable, intelligent decisions on behalf of the people, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Lobos. Next speaker.
Jackie Gregory.
Good evening, Jackie Gregory, 7 County Way, Elkton. And I'd also like to congratulate our new council people, and especially Joyce Bowlesby for being appointed today. And I look forward to see the ideas that you'll bring with you to the council. I just wanted to pick up on something that somebody else said tonight about the pending lawsuit. And I think we should actually take it a step further, because we have seen time and time again where people have brought frivolous lawsuits against the county, and the taxpayers have been put on the hook. And I think we as taxpayers should countersue and to recoup the money that is spent defending this, because it's a frivolous lawsuit. And reading the comments in the Cecil Way today, it sounds like an everything but the kitchen sink lawsuit. You know, anything that sticks, and doesn't seem like there's a whole lot there. So I don't think that we should have to pay for it, but I don't think that that the people who are not guilty in this matter, who have this frivolous lawsuit brought against them, should have to pay either. I think that the people who are bringing the lawsuit should pay, and that we should countersue. And as a Republican, I support the decisions that Moore has made, because I have always put my principle over party. To me, my party doesn't mean a whole lot to me if it doesn't represent a set of principles. So I stand in full support for the decisions that she has made, which have clearly been on behalf of the county. She has endured a lot of difficulty because of the decision she has made. It was definitely not on her own, in her own self-interest or in her behalf. But looking at what we have undergone over the past 2 years, I think that she made the best decision that she could make for the county, and has suffered because of it, and I respect her for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Gregory. Next speaker.
Robert Amato.
Let me have your address.
Robert Amato, P.O. Box 679, Berryville, Maryland, 21903. I would like to suggest that the meetings be audio recorded in both the Elk Room and the Perryville Room upstairs, as well as video. I think it's a challenge for the Perryville Room upstairs because it's such a small area. But at any rate, I think that the meetings up there should be recorded, because a lot of important business takes place up there in a workshop environment. The video, I think, it does not have to be real time. It can be recorded somehow and then be posted on the website, be available to the citizens and to the various cable providers. The second issue I have is I'd like to know the status of the McCoy Farm. That was passed a while back under the Commissioner form of government. I know that land preservation is a very important issue. I also know that that property was heavily encumbered by mortgages. And I'd like to know how much, what the net value of that property was. Net of liens and mortgages against it. And I don't expect an answer tonight, but I'd like a follow-up on that to come up with an analysis, financial analysis of what the real cost of that purchase was. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Amato. Next speaker, please.
Mario Vangetti.
Good evening, and thank you, Mr. President. I first want to address the council appointment. I know we're going to hear about this quite often, and Mrs. Moore is going to continue to take a hit for what she did, her courageous move, I might add. Council, you had your chance. You had your opportunity to select a candidate to fill the empty seat, and you blew it. And now a few of you want to throw stones at Mrs. Moore for doing what was really your job. So I wanted to point that out. So that left Mrs. Moore, County Exec Moore. She was then left with choosing a council member. And frankly, she did choose one. She chose one who was her own person. And she will make decisions on behalf of the county. I also want to thank Mr. Harris for his words. They were very poignant, and I ask that you pay heed to his thoughts. I want to congratulate Joyce Bowlesby. I know that she's going to do a fantastic job as council working with the rest of you. I also want to thank the audience. And I'll tell you why I want to thank the audience. I've sat through many, many meetings and have heard the criticism of the audience that comes here. A lot of them come during the day and they come at night. There's many more things that these folks in the audience could be doing, but they're here doing their job. They elected you to run the county, and it is their job to hold you accountable. So thank you for the audience. I know some of the council members resent your input, but it's our job. I'm excited that we now have 3 council members who are appreciative of public input. To the other 2, I ask that you stop the pettiness. And tonight was another example of that. We couldn't even agree on the meeting minutes. We could not agree. When I say we, you could not agree on the meeting minutes. Was that really necessary? Is it really important that we struck that one sentence? I was here that night. That sentence was said. It was said that night. So we're striking something that was part of the meeting that night. I heard it, and many members of the audience heard it as well. I can tell you what the answer is. As a citizen and voter of this county, the answer is no, it wasn't important. I ask, I implore, it's time to focus on what's important to move the county forward. Stop the pettiness, let's move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Giangenni. Next speaker.
Dave Fortis.
Good evening, Councilman. Welcome, ma'am. Just 2 topics. One, I saw in the Cecil Guardian that there's some action amongst the council for increased oversight over the methadone clinics. I'm fully in favor of that. It's a personal issue to me since my house lies smack between the 2 in town here. Second item I have is a practical one, and it concerns Route 40, particularly the intersection where Jackson Station Road meets up with Route 40. I go home every night on that road. That's a dangerous intersection. There's the new center rails that I guess the state put in there, and I've had people pull right out in front of me when I'm going 50, 55 miles an hour in the left-hand lane, and you have no time to react. So I don't know what the right solution is there. I don't think a traffic light is it. I'm not a traffic engineer. I know it's at the crest of the hill, but I think something needs to be done to increase the visibility or something. So I would ask the council here to take that up as an action to do that. That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you to all the speakers that spoke today. And we're going to move on our agenda to presentation of several certificate of recognitions. I'd like to invite the council down to the council floor to present a certificate to Peter Beanick, the chief of the Solid Waste Division with our Public Works Department. Mr. Beanick, we have 2 certificates of recognition. One is from the Global Methane Initiative, and I'll read it to you. Peter Beanick, Cecil County, Maryland, for your contribution as a presenter to the Global Methane Initiative LFG Energy Indonesia Workshop. And for the public's knowledge, Mr. Beanick traveled all the way to Indonesia to present this workshop. And his experience that he conveyed was of great benefit to the Indonesians. So this is a letter to you from that initiative, and this is the certificate they presented to you. The county commissioners also have a certificate of recognition, and this is presented to Pete Beanick, Chief of Solid Waste Management Division at our landfill, in recognition of your participation in the Global Methane Initiative in Jakarta, Indonesia. We want to thank you for your hard work and dedication to your profession that helps to make Cecil County a great place to live, work, and play. And this is presented to you, all the council members, including Alan McCarthy, Joyce Bowlesby, Michael Dunn, Diane Brumel, and myself, the President, Robert Hodge. Thank you very much. You have a long speech for us tonight?
No, not. I'm gonna leave it.
Okay. Thank you very much. The County Council and the Executive also have a certificate of recognition for William Funk, the Building Inspection Supervisor of the Department of Permits and Inspections. Would Mr. Funk please come forward? Mr. Funk, the County Council and the Executive have a certificate of recognition presented to you tonight, representing the Department of Permits and Inspections in recognition of your appointment to the International Code Council. And thank you for your hard work and dedication to your profession that helps make Cecil County a great place to live, work, and play. Thank you very much. And this is presented to you by the County Council and the Executive, Terry Moore. The council is made up of Al McCarthy, Joyce Bowlesby, Michael Dunn, Diana Brumel, and myself, Robert Hodge. Thank you very much. Thank you. Do you have a speech for us? Thank you. Next on our agenda is some old business, consideration of appointments from the county executive. The first appointment is Alfred C. Wine Jr., Director of Administration. And this was presented to us in written form by the council manager previously, and so I'm asking for a motion to approve that appointment.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
There's a first and a second to confirm the appointment of Alfred C. Wine Jr., the Director of Administration. Is there any discussion on the motion?
I will say that he didn't have to, according to the code, to submit the disclosure. I did request to see it for everyone that's being recommended for appointment, and he did submit it, and I just want to say thank you for that.
I'd like to say that Al Wine has been a public servant for more than 20 years to Cecil County and has done a great job, and we'd like to see him stay another 20 years at least. Is there any other comment from any of the council members? Okay, we have a first and we have a motion and a second to confirm the appointment of Alfred C. Wine as the Director of Administration. All those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously, and Mr. Wine is now the Director of Administration. from the county executive is Winston Robinson, the Director of Finance. Is there a motion to confirm the appointment?
I move that we confirm Winston Robinson.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to confirm Winston Robinson as the Director of Finance. Is there any discussion?
Sure, I'll be voting no on the motion. I have to admit this, pick on Terry's behalf was very perplexing to me. I know two Republicans, two well-qualified Republicans, one who was our treasurer and one who was the budget director, were passed over for this position. And it greatly concerns me bringing in someone from the outside, from Newcastle County. I think that indicates where County Executive Moore wants to take the county. That greatly concerns me.
Is there any other comments by the council members?
Well, I'm gonna vote in support of Winston Robinson. I know his credentials are impeccable, and Mr. Feeling had very good things to say about you. I know that you reside in Elkton, which does mean that has some bearing on my decision as well. While, you know, you're not a Republican, I think the qualifications are of the highest importance. And I think you'll be doing a good job of carrying out your responsibilities as Director of Finance.
Is there any other discussion?
I just want to say that although he probably doesn't remember, Mr. Robinson and I worked together when he was here before. So he has served in the accounting department here, and certainly impressed me at the time. But I was a lot younger then.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to confirm Winston Robinson as the Director of Finance, and I'd like to have a vote. All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
The motion passes 4-1 for Winston Robinson to be the Director of Finance. The next appointment is for Jason Allison to be the County Attorney. Is there a motion to confirm this appointment?
I will move that we confirm the appointment.
Is there a second?
I will second it.
Is there any discussion by the council members?
I'll have to vote against this appointment. I'm sure, Jason, you're a very qualified attorney, but ethics are very important to me, and you as the chairman of the Ethics Commission did vote, did weigh in on the decision that you didn't feel attorneys needed to provide disclosure. And it just really caused me some concern on not understanding where that was coming from. I'll be voting against.
Is there any other discussion?
Sure, I'll also be voting against, nothing personal against Jason, who I think did a very good job, particularly on the SPCA case, but I certainly could have found a well-qualified Republican put in that position.
Is there any discussion by any other members? Okay, we have a motion and a second to confirm Jason Allison as the County Attorney. All those in favor of the motion, please signal by saying aye.
Aye.
I heard you call
No,
back.
I'm calling back, yes.
Okay, so there's 3 in favor. Is there any opposed?
Yes.
Aye.
Okay, the motion carries 3-2. The Jason Allison.
Question, Mike was questioning their political affiliation. Al, are you still a Republican?
You don't need the answer.
Let's move on.
You are.
Okay,
You probably say yes.
Out of order, out of order. Okay. The next appointment for consideration by the council is consideration for the request for authorization to retain special legal counsel. to defend the county and or represent the county in appointment matters. Do I have a motion to confirm this appointment?
Authorization.
Authorization.
I will move to authorize the retention of special legal counsel.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
Is there any discussion?
Oh, yeah, I have a lot to discuss on this.
Hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Commissioner Dunn, would you go ahead?
Are we voting these separately, the proposal for Ms. Barnhart and Mr. Brown? Or?
Yes, Mr. Brown would be another appointment
Fair enough.
for appeals board.
Okay.
Okay, so as was mentioned from one of the citizens during the public comment, we were told that charter was going to be cost neutral. And now we hear Ms. Bowlesby is supporting the special legal counsel. And I have gotten, and well, I'm not going to say his name, but yes, I have gotten a lot of feedback that people are upset that taxpayer money is being funded to protect Ms. Moore's actions. And she knew, this is why it's so relevant, she knew it was challengeable, and she's needing to hire special attorney that she feels would fight it the most effectively, that she'd have a chance. This cost is being borne because of her actions, and you know, this is a result of what she did. So I will definitely be voting against this.
Okay, is there any other discussion? Okay, there's been a motion and a second to authorize the retention of special legal counsel, Jenny Barnhart. All those in favor signal by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed?
No.
No, and it's $350
The
an
vote-
hour.
The motion carries 3-2. The other request for authorization was for Mr. Brown. I'm sorry. Was that the appeals board or the appeals board?
It's the board.
To represent the appeals board. Is there a motion to authorize the retention of Mr. Brown for the appeals board?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Seconded.
There's been a motion and a second to authorize the retention of, what's Mr. Brown's first name again?
Cameron.
Cameron Brown, I'm sorry. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, I'll call the question. Is all those in favor of the motion to retain Cameron Brown to represent the appeals board? All those in favor signal by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? The motion carries unanimously. Moving on to new business, we have introduction of resolutions. The first of being the amendment to the Cecil County Master Water and Sewage Plan would be presented to us by the Director of Planning and Zoning here.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. The next item on your agenda concerns an amendment to the county's master water and sewer plan, specifically Table 8, concerning Conowingo Mobile Home Park. The mobile home park has had a group septic system that has handled the sewage effluent from the approximately 410 customers who reside within the park. However, in the last several years, the park has run into difficulties with the effluent being discharged from that septic system and the permit it has from the Maryland Department of the Environment to meet their standards. Accordingly, they have been in discussions with the department over the last several years and have decided upon a solution to this situation, which is to have a community treatment plant rather than a septic system. Maryland Department of the Environment has requested that the county revise Table 8 within the master water and sewer plan to reflect the change from a group septic system to a community treatment plant. So the table has been amended accordingly. You should have a copy of that in your meeting documents this evening. The Planning Commission has reviewed this amendment at their December 17th, 2012 meeting and forwarded the recommendation of approval to you. Staff has also reviewed the amendment and has also forwarded the recommendation of approval to the Planning Commission.
Is this amendment subject to public hearing?
Yes, this is Ms. Rinkerman, I believe, will be scheduling that for February.
Do we have a date? February 5th. Okay, there will be a public hearing on this on December 5th. February 5th. Do any of the council members have questions regarding this resolution?
I have one question. What is a SBRUVDIS?
UVDIS means ultraviolet disinfectant. SBR is a sequential batch reactor. It's describing the type of treatment plant that is will be constructed on the site to meet the discharge requirements of the permit.
Is it something that's above ground, below ground?
It'll be above ground.
Describe how it works. Is it like a lagoon or?
No, it'll be a plant that the raw effluent will come in from the collection system, will be treated at the plant. As far as the techniques involved, I would have to defer to Director Flanagan or somebody else who is well versed in sewage effluent to describe to you the process of breaking down the raw material into a liquid that is able to be discharged into the waters of the state. Of course, there will be solids that will remain that will be disposed of, most likely through land application, as is done in many waste treatment plants throughout the country. But it will be a plant that if you stepped out there out of your car and looked at it, you would see it above ground. It would not be an in-ground system like any septic system would be.
So there's probably huge containment vessels?
Well, it's a small plant. It's design capacity, according to this table, is 15,000 gallons a day. So again, as far as the magnitude of the above-ground facilities that would be required, that goes beyond my expertise at this time. Unfortunately, I cannot answer that question.
Thank you very much.
Is there any further questions of the council regarding this matter? Okay, there will be a public hearing scheduled for February 5th on this matter. If anyone chooses to speak for or against it, please come back on the 5th. The next new business is introduction of a resolution regarding cable service franchises in Cecil County. Special Counsel Chip McLeod is here to answer any questions. You want to make a presentation on the?
Sure. If you indulge me, I can give you a brief rundown of some of the highlights of these agreements, and I'll just go ahead and jump right in. Good evening. You have before you 3 cable service franchise agreements with 3 separate providers. These are incumbent providers already providing cable service in the county. Comcast and Armstrong Utilities have comparable subscriber bases in the county. Atlantic Broadband, a much smaller subscriber base. But you have 3 separate agreements, and here are some highlights of those agreements that it's being recommended that you approve now to enter into. All 3 agreements have a term of 10 years. However, with respect to Comcast, there was an incentive in the Comcast agreement for them to be able to add 5 additional years to their term, provided they make some system upgrades in the Cecilton, Galena area. Through our negotiations with Comcast, they've made this commitment. The agreement reads that if they make these improvements within 7 years, they would get the additional 5-year term. The expectation is that Comcast can make these improvements well before that 7-year date. But that is one difference in the 3 agreements, that Comcast has an incentive, and again, because they want to make these upgrades, or they will make these upgrades in the Cecilton, Galena area. And when we started these negotiations, that was one area of concern, and we were asked on your behalf to make sure that was something that was worked through during the negotiations, that attention was paid to that portion of the county and the level of service. These franchise agreements are not exclusive, meaning that if another cable provider wanted to set up shop here in Cecil County, you all could entertain a franchise for that as well. The franchise fee paid by these 3 providers under their agreements is 5%. That's the maximum allowed under federal law. This is the amount, the percentage amount that's being paid currently. So everybody understands this franchise fee is really tied to the right of these providers to be utilizing the public rights-of-way that you maintain throughout the county. Cable television service providers would have great difficulty providing their services if they didn't have access to the public rights-of-way to string their cable. So the franchise fee amount is 5% based on gross revenue. There are line extension policies that track with the ordinance that you ought to pass, as far as under what circumstances are cable providers required to extend their service to an area of the county that currently doesn't have that service. The general policy is 25 dwelling units per mile. There's a little different policy for Comcast. It's 30 homes per mile, and that is due to some other concessions we were able to get from Comcast, which I'll touch on in a minute. All of these providers, of course, there are insurance requirements for them to be conducting business in the county and in your rights of way. All of the providers will be providing some free service to county facilities throughout the county. There is a bit of a distinction. Comcast will provide basic cable service at no charge to certain county facilities and buildings in their service area. Armstrong and Atlantic will be providing free basic cable and internet access to county facilities and buildings in their service areas. Some of these providers already do it, but all of them will be providing at least basic cable, and the 2 of them, the internet service to county facilities. Doesn't sound like a lot, but these are 10-year agreements, and if you look at the costs that are paid for basic cable and internet access, it does add up. So that is a contribution that these providers are making. As far as public access channels, referred to as PEG, Public Educational and Government Access, there is a commitment for 1 PEG channel when the county is ready to activate. Among the 3 providers, Comcast is the most equipped to be able to facilitate the providing of a PEG channel when you're ready for one. And then the other 2 providers will cooperate so that if there is a PEG channel activated and then in its broadcast, we can make sure that it's broadcast among these 3 providers. Because otherwise, if only one provider provides a PEG channel, it's only going to be seen by their subscribers. So we have tried to write these agreements so that they will cooperate, because it's really going to be Comcast that would be taking the lead in that when the county is ready to activate. And the other part about activation is when you activate a channel, Comcast will make a $43,000 grant payment to the county once it activates that channel. The other 2 providers were not in a position to offer any kind of grant, PEG grant. They will offer in-kind support when the county activates a PEG channel if you decide to. And by in-kind support, if you get into activating a channel, and this could be, you could do it for yourself so you can broadcast. Your public school system may be interested in a PEG channel, your community college, whoever is interested in it and you all decide to activate it. Again, Comcast would make a $43,000 grant payment. The other 2, the type of in-kind support would be technical support. They could provide expertise if you set up a broadcasting facility or what have you. And then do keep in mind, when and if you do activate a PEG channel, it is the responsibility of the county to regulate that. There's much involved when you do broadcast through a PEG channel, because somebody has to regulate the content and things like that. And just to be clear, that responsibility isn't on the cable providers, it would be on the county government, or whomever the county government would delegate to oversee a PEG channel. There could be more PEG channels, but there has to be a proven need. You would start with 1, you would broadcast a certain, you have to prove there's an interest and enough broadcasting to justify a second. And the next step in this, if the council is at the point where they're comfortable approving these agreements, we'll work with your staff to get them executed first on the provider end, and then bring them back for execution on the county end. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions.
Are there any questions from the council members?
I have one. How is gross revenue verified?
It's verified by a worksheet that the providers are supposed to submit when they submit a payment, a franchise fee, and there's information they provide, because gross revenue is very specifically defined under federal law, what they have to count and not count. So there is a worksheet that they're supposed to provide to the county when they submit a payment, so we can see how it is they calculated their gross revenue number and then what our 5% is. And at any time, yes, one of the exhibits to these agreements for each of the providers is that worksheet, how they will calculate gross revenue. The other aspect of that is under the ordinance and the agreement, at any time if the county wants to audit those gross revenue numbers just to verify or what have you, we have that ability, you know. And the county now should have a pretty good history of gross revenue franchise fee payments from these providers, because they've all been operating for a while in the county. So that should be able to be tracked, and, you know, if there's any, you know, bump or dip, you know, that can be questioned.
Thank you very much.
Councilman Greenwald, did you have a question?
Yes, Mr. McLeod, was wondering, you have overseen these contract agreements representing a few counties?
Yes,
correct?
yes.
Is this the way that you would go about accommodating in such a rural area that we have 3 cable companies that we're dealing with to realize hopefully to get our own peg channel?
Yes, I mean, I think what's happened in other jurisdictions, you know, when you get into broadcasting on a peg channel, you don't reach all necessarily the cable providers, because if there's more than one, you need to make sure they cooperate. Because legally, they don't have to. And there's a lot of very technical rules and frankly technical issues about getting 2 providers to allow the same thing to broadcast on both. And Mr. Mesnick can verify that. I mean, this took a while through our negotiations to get them to agree that they would cooperate when you activate one, so we can get broadcast on all.
Well, I appreciate, this was a big factor for me, and Mr. Mesniak knows this is something that I've been wanting to see for a long time. Do you think there's an opportunity that the college would want to be a part of coordinating this, and that, you know, they could see 42,000 of developing something that they could use for further education too?
Well, our experience with other jurisdictions when it comes to activating the PEG channel, often it is the educational entities that are usually pushing first, because they have some teaching ideas with respect to broadcasting, and they can do some other things. We also recommend with our local government clients, when it comes to regulating these channels, that you look to the educational institutions like boards of education or community colleges to help oversee that, because they are used to regulating content. Even in some cases, public libraries have been involved, because, you know, you have to be careful when you go into the public broadcasting arena how you do that. And I don't say regulating because there's a lot to regulate, frankly, it cuts the other way. That, you know, a lot is allowed, even when you get into the PEG business, but you really, it's advisable to have an organization that's used to dealing with those kinds of free speech issues.
Is there any other questions?
Yeah, I just had one, and I'm new to all of this, and I knew you.
Welcome, by the way.
Thank you. Broadband is considered a part of infrastructure here in Cecil County, and we're working real hard to get it. Broadband isn't mentioned in any of these contracts, although these are all companies that are connected with broadband. Is there I guess I want to know why.
It's a good question. We can only regulate cable service.
Okay.
Internet is not something to be regulated, and the intent of Congress is very clear on that, and still is, at least to this day, that the internet is supposed to be as unregulated as possible. What's interesting in how cable services have evolved, you see the bundling of cable services, phone, internet, and cable TV, television. Often the least of the service people are looking for is the cable television part, some of the other services. So we've had to think through how you are dealing when they go out and bundle services. But that's why we really don't focus specifically on internet, because we're not allowed to.
Thank you.
Mr. Dunn, do you have any questions?
No, thanks, sir.
I have one question. Almost 2 years ago, the county commissioners delegated the responsibility to you to hammer out the best, fairest deal for the citizens of Cecil County relating to cable service in Cecil County. Do you believe that you've done the best job you can to get the best and fairest deal that can be had from the cable providers?
I think this is a very reasonable deal for Cecil County. I wish it hadn't taken so long, but it is, I think, a very fair deal, and all things considered, I think this is one that I would recommend that you all enter into these agreements.
Can I, get, Scott, did you have anything to add? I recommended that you be a part of this, and do you have any insights?
I concur with Mr. McLeod that this is a good deal for the county. We have worked diligently, had many meetings with all the providers, looked at every angle, every aspect of it that we possibly could, and I do believe we worked out a good deal with them.
Does anyone know approximately the total franchise payments to the county last year? Ballpark?
Ballpark, around $300,000, I believe.
Okay. Any other questions? So, I guess we're going to, vote on this on February 5th. And that'll give the direction to move forward.
Okay. One question I might add, is this a brand new contract, or is this a renewal of a previously existing contract?
For all three, it's actually a renewal.
Okay. Now, do we expect to do this every time they renew?
Well, I don't know when these contracts, when these franchise agreements are coming due in 10 years, I don't know what the framework and we're going to be dealing with. With regularity, the cable television industry is lobbying Congress to loosen the rights of local governments to regulate cable. And there's even discussions in the state of Maryland. There's a commission, and I don't recall the full name of the commission, that's looking at the regulation of telecommunications and cable. And there is always this push to get local governments out of this franchising business. And, you know, there's arguments on both sides, but the most important aspect about regulating cable television is that they're using public rights of way. Okay, they're on your streets, and there's value to that. You all have to maintain public rights of way. And if cable companies didn't have access to public rights of way, they'd be negotiating with private property owners to lay their cable, and that, you know, you couldn't do it. So there is a value of what the governments offer in allowing access to these public rights of way, but there's been an ongoing debate about whether you should have so much authority over these franchises. So I don't know when these come up what we're going to be dealing with as far as the framework.
I thought the 15 years was long. It sounds like we were lucky to get 10 years.
Well, I think, right, given that we don't know a lot about what's ahead, we try to advocate for shorter. I mean, all of these incumbents would have liked much longer. They want to get these agreements and move on. So it was, you know, our push was to go for shorter term, just because, one, we didn't get a lot of exactions. We had asked for a little bit more from some of these providers, and that went into the thinking of what term should be suggested.
Thank you, Mr. McLeod.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda is a budget amendment proposed by the Cecil County Public Schools. I guess it was introduced to us at our work session this morning. Does anyone have any questions or comments about it?
Yes, I did give Mr. Capra a call because I was concerned that I am a big supporter of keeping the money in the classroom, and it showed a significant amount being moved out and going into instruction salaries. But he assured me that this was part of the Title I grant, and they have to, as receiving money from a Title I grant, they have to show the update of where the money is going, and it's going out of special education to regular instruction. And the 226,000 increase in instruction salaries is actually for workshop and staff development. So, I guess I was satisfied with what he had to say.
Can I hear a motion to approve the budget amendment?
So moved.
Is there a second?